Social media isn't going anywhere, even though many of us would like for it to. Even podcasters have to deal with social media. But when thinking about the metrics, the numbers that matter on social, are we tracking the right things? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to another podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. We fret, we fuss, we stress about social media. And as podcasters, one of the things we have to realize, and if you don't know this already, you will soon have to realize, is that most of the social media platforms that you know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, most of them treat podcasted content, specifically audio content, as a second-class citizen. If they even allow you to post anything at all, they may just expressly forbid posting of audio files. You can't just post an audio file on Facebook. Well, you can post a link to an audio file, but you can't upload a piece of audio, nor can you on Twitter, Instagram, all these things. And that's because it's not what they were designed to do. But before I get in there, podcasters have been told since the beginning of social media, which, by the way, came after podcasting. Yep, podcasting started in 2004. Most social media sites, all the ones I mentioned, started after that. But nonetheless, we know the power of social media, and we want to make sure that we are utilizing social media to make sure our podcast and the episodes of our podcast reach our audience. Great. All good. All fine. Very happy to do that kind of stuff. Except we get obsessed. And I have heard this from more than one of my clients who are apprehensive when it comes to social media. And they're not sure how to figure out if their efforts on social media are having a positive impact on their client. Specifically, one of the questions I get repeatedly, or one of the issues that comes up repeatedly, is when they say, so I'm doing all the things that I think I should be doing on social media for my podcast, Evo, yet I'm not getting likes, reshares, retweets, thumbs up, hearts, comments, whatever. I'm just not seeing the social signals that I think my content should have when I share it in social media. And so my advice to those clients has been the same, and I'll give the advice to you as well. My advice to you is, so what? More specifically, the social metrics, the success things, the thumbs up, the hearts, the comments, the retweets, the shares, the reach, all the things that you can get when you log into your social media platform. Those all tell you how your social media content is faring in that particular network. And if it is important to you that your content shared in social media get more accolades in social media, okay, but it's not impacting your podcast. It's really not. Whether or not someone thumbed up, thumbs down, but you can't do that yet, gave it a heart, gave it a reshare, tells you very little about whether or not your content was actively consumed by someone. It's very easy to give something a heart, a thumbs up, a retweet, even a comment inside of these social media apps. That's what they're designed to do. Make it easy to engage. And even as easy as it is to engage, what's your engagement rate? Do you know? Go into any of those platforms, and you should be able to get to an analytics, a reporting suite that tells you what your engagement rate is. It's probably pretty tiny, like single digit tiny. And if in fact it is double digit, chances are there's a decimal in between those two numbers. Oops. Which means that more than 90% of the content that is seen doesn't get engaged with. That's the nature of social media. Even as easy as it is, people don't like to, well, not that they don't like to, they just don't do it. And you're trying to share second-class citizen material, an audio file, or a link to an audio file, or a link to a page that contains an audio file. You're trying to get them off of social media. And that's a problem. Which is why, with the advent of audiograms and social sharing clips from various apps like Overcast and many more nowadays, that's great because it's getting more engaging content out there into the social ecosystem about podcasts. But again, I go back to what really matters. Those social shares don't really matter all that much. Can they help expose your content to more people? Absolutely. They certainly can. But this mini-series that I'm doing this week is all about stats. And we're talking about social stats right now. So which social stats matter to your podcast? Which stats about the things you've shared on social matter? Probably none of them. Especially if you or your show doesn't have a huge social media presence. Because go back to that engagement rate number I mentioned. That is a single-digit percentage. If you have 100 people following you on whatever social platform, and you get 1% engagement, great, that's one person. Yeah. Big brands, big anybody who's got a huge social presence, they see the same low engagement numbers you do. They just have a much bigger following. So you may be tempted to do some silly things that I do not recommend, like buying followers, like trying to pay others to promote yourself, your show, your whatever. Don't do it. Social media can work for podcasting if you have an engaged social media following and presence. And if you do not have that, well, I'm sorry. It's probably not where you should be spending most of your efforts. What social media metric matters for podcasters? There really isn't one. There really isn't one. Should you be social? That's up to you. Again, if you are the kind of person who has an account, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, don't really care. If you've got an engaged audience, then you should absolutely be sharing your content there. And then you want to take a look and see how does that content fare. When I share my podcast content on my exclusive TikTok channel, do I get more or less engagement IDs? Thumbs up, thumbs down, replays, whatever TikTok does, or whatever your social media platform does. What social media metrics matter in podcasting? For podcasting, probably not very many. And that's unfortunate. But it's also real. You can't fight that. My advice to you is if you have a social media presence, absolutely get involved. But if you do not have a social media presence, don't sweat it. There are more important metrics. We'll get to some of those metrics through the rest of this week as I'm focusing on just these statistics. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow for another podcast, Pontifications. Cheers.